Hey friends, and welcome back to the Untold story, where forgotten corners of the world quietly stir to life and history whispers through shadow and spell. Tonight, you're not just revisiting the world of Harry Potter, you're slipping between the pages into the stone halls and hidden stairwells of Hogwarts itself. You're not a chosen one, you're just you. But in a place like this, even ordinary students find themselves pulled into extraordinary secrets. But before we sneak through the candlelit corridors of this enchanted castle, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy slow, immersive journeys into forgotten worlds. And tell me in the comments, where are you watching from, and what time is it for you? It always warms my heart to see how many of us drift together across time zones, across stories. Now dim the lights, let the wind outside hush. Maybe turn on a soft fan or a quiet fireplace loop. Let your mind quiet and your feet find the stone steps of Hogwarts. Our untold journey begins now.
Arrival at Hogwarts, a new beginning in the wizarding world. The cold wind bit at my cheeks as the Hogwarts Express steamed steadily through the early morning mist. I clutched my ticket tightly, heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Around me, the chatter of other first years filled the train compartment, wide-eyed, hopeful, and a little scared. Much like me, the rhythmic clatter of wheels over rails seemed to echo the rapid beating of my heart. After all, I wasn't just heading to any school. I was going to Hogwarts, the legendary school of witchcraft and wizardry. The journey felt timeless, almost like a dream, as the countryside blurred past a window. I watched ancient forests and rolling hills give way to a towering silhouette that seemed to grow larger with every mile. The castle itself, Hogwarts, perched on a cliff above a black lake, its turrets and spires piercing the gray sky. It looked both majestic and ominous, a place where magic was as natural as breathing. When the train finally screeched to a halt, the platform buzzed with students and parents. I stepped out, clutching my trunks, and was quickly swept up in a procession of first years led by the gentle giant Hagrid. His booming voice guided us through the dark woods toward the castle. The trees seemed to whisper secrets as shadows danced under the moonlight. My breath caught in my throat. This was no ordinary school. Crossing the lake by boat was a moment I would never forget. The water was unervingly still, reflecting the glittering stars and the flickering lights of the castle. The only sounds were hushed whispers and the soft splash of oars. It was as if we were entering another world, one that hummed with enchantment. Inside Hogwarts, the Great Hall was a dazzling spectacle. Hundreds of floating candles cast a warm glow over the four long tables, where older students already sat, chatting and eating. The enchanted ceiling mirrored the night sky outside, a swirl of stars and clouds that shifted in silence. At the front, the staff table gleamed under glittering chandeliers, with professors dressed in robes that seemed woven from starlight. Then came the sorting ceremony. I watched as the sorting hat was placed on one student after another, whispering in their ears before shouting out their house. When it was my turn, the hat felt surprisingly warm as it settled on my head. A voice echoed in my mind, asking questions I didn't expect, weighing my fears, hopes, and values. Finally, it shouted, "Gryffindor." Relief and pride swelled inside me as I joined the cheering table. This was where I belonged. Days passed quickly as I navigated the halls and corridors, learning to read spells, brew potions, and care for magical creatures. The castle's walls seemed alive, murmuring history and secrets. I found friends among the other first years, some brave and loyal, others clever and curious. Harry Potter, the boy who lived, was there too, but somehow he felt distant yet approachable, burdened with a destiny I could only glimpse. Yet, beneath the excitement, there was an undercurrent of mystery and danger, whispers of a hidden chamber, of dark forces stirring beyond the school's protection, reached my ears. Strange shadows flickered at the edges of vision, and sometimes late at night, I heard faint voices calling my name. Hogwarts was a place of magic, but also a place where shadows lingered. As I lay awake in the four-poster bed, listening to the creaks and sighs of the ancient castle, I knew that my journey here was only beginning. The friendships, the challenges, and the secrets waiting to be uncovered would shape me in ways I could never imagine. And so, with a heart full of hope and a mind brimming with questions, I stepped deeper into the story, one where I was no longer just a visitor, but a part of the enchanted world itself. Whispers in the corridors, secrets beneath Hogwarts. The first few weeks at Hogwarts blurred together in a whirlwind of lessons, laughter, and the strange, intoxicating thrill of magic. Yet, as the novelty wore off, I began to notice things, little details that didn't quite fit the storybook image of the school. A flicker of movement just beyond the corner of my eye. A soft whisper when no one else was near. Shadows that seemed to shift unnaturally in the torchlight. One night, drawn by a curiosity I couldn't explain, I wandered the corridors after curfew. The castle was alive in a way I hadn't expected. Creaking floors, distant footsteps echoing like ghostly footsteps, and the low hum of enchantments humming beneath the stone walls. Somewhere deep inside, a door closed with a muted thud, and I froze. Was it just the castle settling? Or was something, or someone, watching? I was not the only one who sensed the strange undercurrents. Harry and his friends often spoke in hushed tones about rumors. The Chamber of Secrets, a legend that chilled even the bravest. They whispered about a creature hidden for centuries, a threat that could awaken if the wrong person dared to open the ancient door. Most dismissed it as childish fear, but the way their eyes darkened suggested a truth far more dangerous. One afternoon, in the dim light of the library's restricted section, I stumbled upon an old, dusty book with no title on its spine. Its pages were brittle, filled with cryptic runes and drawings that seemed to pulse faintly as I traced my fingers over them. The book hinted at a forgotten history. Secret tunnels beneath the school, ancient magic sealed away, and a power so dark it could consume everything. My pulse quickened. Was this the key to the rumors? Or a trap set for the curious? Not all magic was taught openly. Some lessons were whispered between friends, shared in secret meetings under the staircases or in the quiet corners of the common room. I learned to read hidden signs, a scratch on a wall here, a carved symbol there, that led to places no map could show. One night, following one such mark, I found myself in a cold, narrow passage that smelled of damp stone and something else. The air was thick, heavy with the weight of secrets long buried. Suddenly, a soft scraping echoed behind me. I spun around, heart pounding, but saw only the flicker of my own shadow. Then a voice, low and sibilant, whispered my name. I froze, every nerve on edge. Was it a spell, a ghost, or something darker? I hurried back the way I came, senses heightened, aware now more than ever that Hogwarts was not just a school. It was a labyrinth of mystery, where every corner might hide a secret or a danger waiting to be unleashed. And then there was the night of the full moon. The corridors were unusually silent, the usual chatter replaced by a tense stillness. Rumors swirled that something had escaped the forbidden forest, that creatures prowled the edges of the grounds, eyes glowing in the dark. My dormitory window rattled as a cold wind blew through, carrying a scent both earthy and wild. That night, sleep evaded me. Outside, the castle stone seemed to pulse, alive with magic older than time itself. Through it all, I began to understand magic was not just spells and potions. It was a force tangled with fear and hope, light and shadow. Hogwarts held wonders, but also dangers hidden in its heart. And for me, the adventure had only just begun. The forbidden corridor and the midnight encounter. The castle's labyrinthine passages seemed endless, each turn promising a new secret or a hidden danger. After weeks of quiet exploration and whispered warnings, the name Forbidden Corridor kept coming up, a place no student was ever meant to enter, especially after dark. It was said to lie beyond the third-floor landing, behind a door enchanted with spells older than Hogwarts itself. But as curiosity often does, it beckoned me, whispering promises of forbidden knowledge and thrilling mystery. One cold evening, after a particularly long study session in the library, I found myself wandering near the third floor, my footsteps barely audible against the cold stone floor. The corridors stretched out like silent shadows, lit only by the flickering glow of torches. There just ahead was a heavy oak door, worn with age, but unmistakably barred with ancient runes that pulsed faintly, as if alive. I hesitated, the hairs on the back of my neck rising. The air felt thicker here, charged with magic I couldn't quite comprehend. The stories warned of curses, of beasts lurking just beyond the door, and yet my hand reached out, trembling but determined. A faint warmth flowed from the runes as my fingers brushed the wood, as if the castle itself was testing me. Suddenly, a whisper echoed in the stillness, soft, urgent. "Not everything is as it seems," it said, just beyond hearing. I spun around, heart pounding, but saw no one. The corridor remained empty, save for the shadows dancing in the torchlight. Days later, I confided in Harry and Hermione about the door and the whisper. Harry's expression tightened. "You shouldn't go there," he said quietly. "There's more to that corridor than most know. It's connected to things darker than even I've faced." Hermione nodded solemnly, adding, "There are protections in place, but some old magic doesn't like to be disturbed." Despite their warnings, the pull was irresistible. One midnight, cloaked in invisibility and armed with only a flickering wand, I returned. The runes glowed stronger, a faint humming vibrating through the air. With a whispered incantation I'd learned from a dusty tome, the lock clicked open, revealing a dimly lit passage spiraling downward. As I stepped inside, the temperature dropped sharply. The walls were slick with moisture, and the scent of earth and something metallic, like blood, filled my nostrils. Deeper in, the passage opened into a cavernous chamber, its ceiling lost in shadows. Flickering torches cast eerie patterns, illuminating ancient murals depicting serpents and warriors locked in battle. And then I saw it. A figure, cloaked and still, standing near a massive stone altar etched with runes that pulsed like a heartbeat. I froze, breath caught in my throat. The figure slowly turned, revealing eyes glowing faintly with a strange light, neither fully human nor beast. "Who dares disturb the silence?" a voice hissed, echoing off the cavern walls. I stammered, heart hammering, but the figure's gaze held me fast. Then, almost imperceptibly, the glow in those eyes softened. "You walk paths few have trod," it said. "And yet, perhaps you are meant to." Before I could respond, the cavern trembled. Dust and small stones rained from the ceiling. A low growl echoed, growing louder. Something was awakening. I fled, retracing my steps as the passage collapsed behind me, sealing the chamber once again. Back in the safety of my dormitory, I lay awake. The image of those glowing eyes burned into my mind. What had I seen? A guardian? A trapped soul? Or something far darker? One thing was certain. Hogwarts held secrets far older and deeper than any book. And now, I was part of the story, a story that was just beginning to unfold. The midnight duel and the vanishing portrait. The days that followed my escape from the forbidden corridor were a restless haze. My mind replayed every moment in that shadowy chamber, the glowing eyes, the pulse of ancient magic, and the collapse of stones sealing away secrets meant to stay hidden. But Hogwarts does not forget, and neither do its inhabitants. One evening, as the full moon bathed the castle in silver light, an unexpected summons arrived. A message slipped under my door, sealed with a crimson wax bearing the insignia of the dueling club. A secret society whispered about among students but never openly acknowledged. The note was brief. Midnight, Great Hall, alone. Curiosity and a flutter of apprehension pulled me from my bed that night. Cloaked beneath my robes, wand at the ready, I crept through the silent corridors. The Great Hall was transformed. Tables pushed aside, candles floating in erratic patterns casting jittery shadows on the walls. A circle of students stood at the edges, faces half hidden in darkness. At the center, a figure stepped forward. It was Draco Malfoy, his pale face twisted into a smirk that did not quite reach his cold eyes. "So, you're the one who's been poking around where you shouldn't," he said, voice sharp and mocking. "Let's see if you can back up your curiosity with skill." Before I could reply, wands were drawn and the duel began. Spells flew like sparks, curses and counter-curses weaving through the air in a dazzling, deadly dance. I felt the rush of magic in my veins, the crackle of power beneath my fingertips. Every instinct screamed to defend, to fight, but also to understand the strange thrill of confrontation. The duel was interrupted abruptly when a loud crash echoed from the corridors outside. The students turned, Their faces pale as the portrait of the fat lady swung open violently. From the darkness beyond, a figure slipped inside, tall, cloaked, face hidden beneath a hood. Enough, the newcomer commanded. Their voice was calm, but carried the weight of authority. This is not the place for petty quarrels. The students dispersed, murmurs swirling like a storm. I recognized the figure immediately. Professor Snape, his dark eyes gleaming with suspicion and something unreadable. As Snape approached, he cast a glance at me, lips twitching into a faint, sardonic smile. "Curiosity can be dangerous," he murmured, "but perhaps it is also necessary." Before I could ask what he meant, he pulled a small, ornate key from his robes and handed it to me. "You'll need this. Trust no one but yourself." The moment passed as quickly as it had come. Snape vanished into the shadows, leaving me clutching the cold key, heart pounding with questions. What did he expect me to unlock? And why now? That night, sleep evaded me. The castle seemed to pulse with energy. The secret dueling club, the cryptic warnings, and the key burning cold in my pocket. It was clear that I was no longer a mere student. I was a player in a game of shadows and whispers, a game where trust was scarce, and danger lurked behind every corner. As dawn crept over the horizon, I made a silent vow to uncover the mysteries hidden within Hogwarts, no matter the cost. Secrets unveiled, the hidden chamber revealed. The key burned cold in my palm like a silent promise as I made my way through the shadowed corridors of Hogwarts. Each step echoed softly against ancient stone, and my breath came in quiet bursts, mingling with a faint, lingering scent of parchment and candle wax. That small, ornate key, Snape's mysterious gift, was my only guide, its weight both comforting and foreboding. I wasn't sure what I was unlocking. The castle was vast, a maze of twisting halls, secret passages and forgotten rooms. But there was one place where rumors always converged, the site whispered about in hushed tones by students and teachers alike. The legendary Chamber of Secrets. The stories were chilling. A hidden chamber, created by one of Hogwarts' founders, Salazar Slytherin himself, sealed away centuries ago and said to house a terrible power. Most dismissed it as myth, a tale to frighten first years. But I had felt the pull of something ancient, something dangerous, lurking beneath the school's foundations. Following a series of cryptic clues etched faintly on the castle walls, hidden glyphs only visible in the flicker of torchlight, I arrived at a seemingly ordinary bathroom, its walls lined with cracked green tiles. It was a place known to few as the entrance to the chamber, concealed by a sink adorned with a serpent motif. Heart pounding, I slid the key into a narrow slot hidden beneath the serpent's tongue. The mechanism clicked softly, and the cold stone wall rippled like water, revealing a dark staircase spiraling down into the depths. Descending, the air grew heavier, thick with dust and the scent of earth. Torches flickered to life along the walls, illuminating vast chambers carved with ancient symbols. I could almost hear the echoes of forgotten voices. Students long vanished, guardians of secrets, and something else, something waiting. Suddenly, a low hiss echoed through the chamber. From the shadows emerged a massive serpent, its scales glistening like polished onyx, eyes gleaming with an eerie intelligence. My wand was ready, but instinct told me this creature was no mindless beast. It was a guardian, bound by magic to protect the chamber's truth. Then, a voice whispered inside my mind, soft yet commanding. "You've been chosen to carry the burden of the past, to face what others feared." A surge of fear and resolve washed over me. The chamber was more than a prison. It was a crucible. Here, I would confront the legacy of Hogwarts itself, the hidden battles of power, purity, and destiny. I knew then that my journey was far from over. With every secret uncovered, the lines between friend and foe blurred. The safety of the castle, and perhaps the entire wizarding world, rested on choices I had yet to make. As I turned to face the serpent, wand raised, I understood magic was as much about courage and heart as it was spells and power. And in the shadows beneath Hogwarts, I would find both. The unexpected ally and the whispered prophecy. The cold breath of the chamber serpent faded into silence as I stood motionless, wand raised, every muscle taut with anticipation. The air was thick with magic and ancient power, pressing in from every shadowed corner. Yet, just as I braced for an attack, a sudden, soft voice cut through the tension. "Lower your wand." It urged gently but firmly. I spun around to see a figure emerging from the gloom. A girl, cloaked in deep green robes, her eyes sharp and steady, her expression calm yet unreadable. She moved with a quiet confidence, as though she belonged to the shadows themselves. "I'm Leora," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I know what you seek, and why you've been led here." Her presence was unexpected, but something in her gaze convinced me she was not a threat. Lowering my wand cautiously, I gestured for her to speak. "The Chamber of Secrets is not just a prison or a legend," Leora explained, stepping closer. "It's a test, a crucible created by Salazar Slytherin to reveal the true heirs of Hogwarts magic. Those who enter must face not only the Guardian, but the shadows within themselves." I listened, spellbound as she spoke of ancient prophecies whispered in forgotten corners of the castle, of dark powers rising once more, and of a choice that would shape the fate of the wizarding world. "Why are you helping me?" I asked, suspicion threading my voice. Leora smiled faintly, a trace of sadness in her eyes. "Because I too was chosen once, and because the shadows threaten us all. We cannot face this alone." As we moved deeper into the chamber, Leora revealed a small, weathered scroll, its edges frayed but its magic palpable. She unrolled it carefully, and the faint glow of enchanted ink illuminated a prophecy written in swirling, ancient script. It spoke of a time when darkness would seek to reclaim Hogwarts, and of a bond forged between unlikely allies. Two souls whose courage and loyalty would light the way through the deepest night. "Perhaps that is us," she whispered. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath our feet, and a voice, neither male nor female, echoed through the chamber. "The time has come. The past must be faced. The future decided." The serpent's eyes glowed once more, and the chamber seemed to pulse with renewed energy. I realized then that this was more than a test. It was a battle for the soul of Hogwarts itself. And with Leora by my side, the journey ahead held both peril and promise. Shadows of the past, echoes beneath the castle. The chamber's heavy silence was broken only by the faint, rhythmic pulse of ancient magic resonating through the stone walls. The serpent's gaze, sharp and unblinking, followed every movement we made, an ever-watchful guardian, poised between protectiveness and menace. Leora's hand brushed against mine, a brief but grounding reminder that whatever lay ahead, we would face it together. The massive stone doorway ahead groaned, sliding open to reveal a narrow corridor cloaked in shadows. Faint, phosphorescent runes traced along the walls, shimmering with an eerie, bluish light that seemed to breathe with the very pulse of the castle. It was as if the passage itself was alive, a living artery coursing with the lifeblood of forgotten spells and whispered secrets. We stepped cautiously forward, the chill of the underground air sinking deep into my bones. Every footfall echoed with a hollow resonance, carried away by unseen tunnels stretching far beyond our sight. The walls bore ancient inscriptions, some so whether their meaning had faded to myth, while others glowed faintly, singing songs in a language older than any professor I'd ever met. With every step, a wave of memories, some not my own, washed over me. Faces flickered at the edges of vision, their expressions caught in moments of triumph and despair. Names that once felt distant now whispered intimately, as if the founders of Hogwarts themselves watched silently, waiting to judge the worthiness of those who dared to seek their secrets. At the corridor's end, the passage opened into a vast chamber, the heart of the chamber, where light and shadow danced in uneasy harmony. Towering before us was the cracked and weathered statue of Salazar Slytherin. The figure was imposing, carved from dark stone veined with flecks of emerald that shimmered faintly even in the dim light. His eyes, inlaid with real emeralds, glittered with an uncanny life, as if they could see through flesh and bone into the very essence of one soul. Leora approached the statue reverently, her fingers tracing the ancient carvings etched deep into the stone. Her voice dropped to a whisper as she spoke. "This is where the past and present meet, a crossroads where destiny is shaped." As if responding to her words, the pool of still water at the statue's feet began to ripple, glowing softly with ethereal light. The air grew thick with tension, charged with the anticipation of something awakening from centuries of slumber. From its shimmering depths rose a figure cloaked in translucent light, an echo from another time. The apparition took the form of a young wizard, his features sharp and determined, his eyes shining with sorrow and wisdom. His voice echoed through the chamber, clear yet distant, carrying the weight of ages. "I am Seraphis," he intoned, "guardian of the truths you seek. To walk further into the mysteries, you must confront the shadows that dwell within your own heart." Suddenly, the chamber was swallowed by darkness. The walls faded, replaced by a swirling void where fragments of memories, fears, and desires collided. Images flooded my mind, moments of friendship and betrayal, joy and regret, hope and despair. Some visions felt eerily familiar. Others were alien, as if dredged from a well of ancestral memories. I found myself reliving choices I had not yet made, feeling the pull of temptation, the sting of doubt, and the burning fire of courage. Faces I loved, faces I feared, they all appeared in this tempest of the mind, challenging me to hold fast or be lost forever. Leora's voice broke through the chaos, steady and reassuring. "Face them. These shadows are part of you. Only by embracing your true self can you move forward." Summoning every ounce of willpower, I reached deep within, anchoring myself to values I held dear: friendship, loyalty, and the fierce determination to protect those I cared for. Slowly, the swirling darkness began to dissipate, replaced once more by the soft glow of the chamber. Seraphis nodded solemnly. "You have passed the first trial of the chamber. But beware, the journey grows darker still." With a sudden shift, the statue of Slytherin moved aside, revealing a hidden recess within the stone pedestal. Inside lay a small relic, a pendant intricately carved with the intertwined symbols of the 4 Hogwarts houses: Gryffindor's lion, Slytherin's serpent, Ravenclaw's eagle, and Hufflepuff's badger. The craftsmanship was exquisite, the pendant humming with latent magic. Leora lifted the pendant carefully. "This is the key of unity," she said softly. "It is said to hold the power to unlock the deepest mysteries of Hogwarts, to bring balance where chaos seeks to reign." A sudden rumble shook the chamber, dust cascading from the ceiling as distant roars echoed through the underground passages. Time was slipping away. "We must move quickly," Leora urged. "Dark forces grow restless. They seek this power for their own twisted ends." As we prepared to leave, I felt a deep stirring within, a mixture of fear and resolve. The path ahead was perilous, the stakes higher than ever. Yet in that moment, I understood something essential. Hogwarts was more than a school or a sanctuary of magic. It was a living entity, woven from the hopes and fears of generations, its fate intertwined with our own. And I was no longer merely a student wandering its halls. I was a guardian of its secrets, a bearer of its legacy. And the choices I made would echo long after the castle stones had crumbled to dust. The enchanted library and the hidden truths. The pendant, cold and heavy in my palm, felt like the weight of 1,000 unspoken secrets. Each house symbol engraved on its surface seemed to shimmer faintly under the flickering torchlight, as though alive with dormant magic. Leora and I exchanged a glance, the gravity of our discovery sinking in. This artifact wasn't merely a key. It was a symbol of unity, of power drawn from the 4 houses that had shaped Hogwarts itself. Our footsteps echoed as we ascended from the depths of the Chamber of Secrets back into the castle's ancient heart. The corridors felt different now, charged with an urgency that prickled at my skin. Every shadow seemed deeper, every whisper louder. Hogwarts was awakening, its magic responding to the pendulum swing of fate. We made our way to a place few dared enter after dusk. The Enchanted Library, a labyrinthine maze of shelves piled high with arcane tomes, dusty scrolls, and forbidden manuscripts. It was said that this library held knowledge too dangerous for ordinary students, guarded by spells that only the worthy could bypass. Tonight, with the pendant guiding us, the heavy oak doors creaked open as if recognizing our purpose. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of aged parchment and a hint of jasmine, a strangely comforting aroma amidst the gloom. Candles floated lazily overhead, casting shifting shadows that danced with secrets. The shelves stretched impossibly high, some disappearing into darkness, while others twisted and turned like living branches of a great magical tree. Our quest was clear: Find the ancient text that could reveal the origins of the Key of Unity and uncover forgotten history binding the four houses together. But as we delved deeper into the maze, the library seemed to react. Books shifting shelves, murmurs brushing past our ears like fleeting ghosts. Leora guided me to a secluded alcove, where a heavy, leather-bound tome lay resting on a pedestal surrounded by glowing runes. The cover bore the emblem of Hogwarts itself, intertwined with the same four house symbols etched on our pendant. This was no ordinary book. It was a chronicle of the castle's hidden history, stories erased from memory and forbidden by time. As we opened the pages, the words shimmered and rearranged themselves, revealing a tale older than any we had heard before, a story of alliance and betrayal, of magic forged in unity and shattered by ambition. The founders, Godric Gryffindor, Helga Hufflepuff, Rowena Ravenclaw, and Salazar Slytherin, had once been inseparable, their combined magic creating protections and wonders within Hogwarts. But Slytherin's growing desire for purity and dominance had fractured their bond, leading to his exile and the sealing of the chamber. The Key of Unity was created as a symbol and tool to restore balance, but only those who embraced all houses' virtues could wield it. As we absorbed the story, an ominous presence swept through the library. The air turned cold, and the floating candles flickered violently. A shadow moved the edge of our vision. A dark figure cloaked in tattered robes, eyes glowing faintly with malice. "You meddle in affairs beyond your understanding," the figure hissed, voice like grinding stones. "The balance you seek threatens those who thrive in chaos." Leora stepped forward, wand raised. "We seek only to protect Hogwarts and its legacy." The figure laughed, a sound void of warmth. "Then prepare for reckoning." Before I could react, the shadow lunged and the battle for Hogwarts' soul intensified, not just in the shadows beneath the castle, but in the very heart of its enchanted halls. The battle of shadows, allies and enemies revealed. The air in the enchanted library crackled with tension, the ancient tomes trembling on their shelves as a dark figure advanced. Its presence was like a storm gathering, unseen yet palpable, threatening to unravel everything we thought we knew about Hogwarts. The flickering candles cast erratic shadows that danced like specters, turning the grand room into a haunted labyrinth. Leora and I stood back to back, wands at the ready, eyes scanning for any sign of weakness in the shadowy adversary. The figure's robe billowed as it moved with unnatural speed, its voice echoing with bitter contempt. "You think the Key of Unity can undo centuries of chaos? You underestimate the darkness that feeds on discord." Suddenly, spells flew. I barely had time to raise my wand before a torrent of curses and hexes filled the room. The air was alive with crackling energy and the sound of magic in battle. A fierce clash of wills and power resonated through the walls. Books were sent flying, shelves shattered, and ancient scrolls torn apart by the force of the duel. Despite the chaos, I found an unexpected calm in the midst of the storm. The magic surged through me, a river of light and heat, fueled by determination and the will to protect everything I held dear. Leora's spells danced beside mine, a synchronized symphony of defensive enchantments and precise counterattacks. Suddenly, a new presence joined the fray. From the shadows of the library's entrance strode a figure cloaked in midnight robes, wand raised with authority. Professor McGonagall. Her sharp eyes flickered with a mixture of surprise and resolve. "This ends now," she declared, voice ringing through the hall. With a flick of her wand, a barrier of shimmering green light sprang up between us and the dark figure, momentarily halting the assault. "You are not welcome here," she said coldly, stepping forward with power that seemed to radiate from her very core. The dark figure snarled, retreating slightly, but not disappearing. "This is but the beginning," it hissed. "The shadows will rise again and Hogwarts will fall." As it vanished into gloom, a tense silence settled. Dust hung in the air, and the shattered remains of the once proud library whispered warnings from their broken pages. Breathing heavily, I turned to Professor McGonagall, who fixed me with a piercing gaze. "You've been meddling in matters far beyond the scope of any student, but you've also shown courage and strength. Hogwarts needs more like you." Leora nodded in agreement. The prophecy spoke of allies from unexpected places. "We must prepare, for the shadows gather, and the fight for Hogwarts is only beginning." With the key of unity clasped tightly in my hand, I realized that the battle was not just against an unseen enemy, but against the very darkness lurking within us all. Trust would be scarce, and alliances fragile. But in that moment, surrounded by friends and foes alike, I knew that I had chosen a path that would shape the future of the wizarding world forever. The Seeker of the Forbidden Forest, a dangerous alliance. The tension in Hogwarts had grown thick like fog. After the battle in the Enchanted Library, whispers of dark magic and hidden enemies echoed through the castle's corridors. Yet no place was more steeped in mystery and peril than the Forbidden Forest, a sprawling tangle of ancient trees, shadowed glades, and untamed magic that bordered the school grounds. Many students dared not enter, and even professors tread carefully near its edge. But to uncover the truth behind the shadowy forces threatening Hogwarts, Leora and I had no choice but to venture into its depths. One late evening, cloaked against the chill and armed with our wands, we slipped past the castle gates. The forest loomed before us, a wall of twisting branches and murky darkness. The moon was our only guide, its silver light barely piercing the canopy overhead. Every step forward was a step into the unknown. Strange noises echoed, a rustle here, a distant howl there, and shadows seemed to flicker just beyond our sight. The forest felt alive, watching, waiting. Suddenly, a low growl reverberated through the trees. From the underbrush emerged a creature both terrifying and majestic. A centaur, tall and proud, eyes glowing with ancient wisdom. Its bow was drawn, aimed directly at us. Who dares enter the sacred forest at night? The centaur demanded, voice resonating like thunder. We raised our hands in peace. We seek answers, I said cautiously. Hogwarts is in danger. Dark forces are stirring beneath the castle. We need your help. The centaur regarded us silently, measuring our intent. Then, after a tense pause, it lowered its bow. You walk a perilous path, young ones, but the forest has seen much and may hold the key you seek. It introduced itself as Thaler, a guardian of the forest and keeper of ancient knowledge. Thaler revealed that the dark magic threatening Hogwarts was tied to an ancient curse placed upon the castle by a vengeful sorcerer long ago, a curse that could only be broken by uniting the powers of the four houses and embracing forgotten magic of the natural world. As we spoke, the forest seemed to respond, whispers rising like a chant carried by the wind. Leora and I exchanged a look. This alliance was unexpected but crucial. Thaler agreed to guide us deeper into the forest, to a hidden glade where forgotten magic still thrived, but warned that the journey would test our courage, trust, and resolve. As we followed him through twisting paths and shimmering clearings, I felt the weight of destiny pressing heavier. The line between friend and foe blurred, but hope flickered in the darkness. Our quest to save Hogwarts was far from over. Together, we stepped forward into the heart of the unknown, the glade of ancient magic, test of heart and mind. The deeper we ventured into the Forbidden Forest, guided by Thaler's steady steps, the more the world around us seemed to shift, becoming alive in ways I had never imagined. Trees whispered secrets in languages older than any spell I had learned. Leaves shimmered with faint, otherworldly light, and the air hummed with an energy that was both beautiful and unnerving. After what felt like hours, we arrived at a hidden glade, a circular clearing surrounded by towering oaks whose branches intertwined to form a natural dome. At the center, a pool of crystal-clear water mirrored the star-speckled sky, its surface rippling with magic. Thaler stepped forward, his eyes glowing softly. This is the heart of the forest's ancient power. Here, you will face the test that determine whether you are worthy of wielding the unity of Hogwarts magic. Leora and I exchanged a glance, our breaths catching with a mixture of excitement and fear. The trials would challenge not just our magical skill, but our very souls. The first test was one of courage. As I stepped toward the pool, the water darkened, swirling into a tempest of shadows. From its depths emerged visions of my deepest fears. Failure, loss, and betrayal. Faces of those I cared for flashed in danger, and I felt the crushing weight of helplessness. But remembering the strength of my friendships and the purpose that had brought me here, I summoned my courage and shattered the illusions with a burst of light. The second test challenged my loyalty. A series of enchanted mirrors appeared around the glade, each reflecting a choice, between self-preservation and sacrifice, between truth and deceit. I found myself torn, heart aching as I considered the consequences. With Leora's quiet encouragement, I chose to embrace honesty and selflessness, knowing the path ahead required trust and unity. The final test was of wisdom. Ancient runes floated around the pool, presenting riddles that twisted and shifted like living puzzles. Each answer unlocked a fragment of forgotten knowledge. Secrets of Hogwarts magic, the origins of the founders, and the true nature of the key of unity. It was a trial of patience and understanding, forcing me to see beyond the obvious and embrace the complexity of the castle's legacy. When the test ended, the pool glowed with a radiant light. The magic coalesced into the pendant, which now pulsed warmly in my hand. A symbol not only of power, but of the qualities I had proven. Fowler nodded solemnly. You have passed the trials of the forest. But the true challenge lies ahead, facing the darkness that seeks to divide and destroy. As we prepared to leave the glade, the wind carried a whisper, a warning that time was running out and that the shadows beneath Hogwarts were stirring once more. Our journey had brought us closer to the heart of the mystery, but the battle for the soul of the school, and perhaps the entire wizarding world, was just beginning. The gathering storm, secrets in the shadows. The moon hung low and heavy over Hogwarts, casting silvery light across the towering spires and ancient battlements. The castle was a sleeping giant, its walls whispering stories long forgotten but never truly silent. Yet beneath the calm surface, a storm was gathering, one that threatened to unravel everything we thought we knew about magic, loyalty, and fate itself. After the trials in the glade, the key of unity felt heavier in my pocket. Not just a magical relic, but a symbol of a burden I could no longer ignore. Every step I took echoed with the weight of responsibility, of secrets waiting to be revealed, and of dangers lurking just beyond sight. Back within the castle's vast corridors, whispers had begun to circulate. Some students sensed the tension, while others dismissed it as mere rumors. But I knew better. Dark forces were at work, stirring ancient grudges and awakening shadows that had slumbered for centuries. Leora and I met in the quiet sanctuary of the Ravenclaw common room, its arched windows framing the star-studded night. She unfurled a map of Hogwarts and its surrounding grounds, markings and enchantments layered atop the parchment. "We need allies," she said softly, tracing lines toward the Forbidden Forest, the dungeons, and the towers. "The darkness will not be defeated by a handful of us. We must unite the houses and those who still believe in Hogwarts' true spirit." Her eyes glimmered with determination, but I could see the burden she bore, the knowledge of how fragile that unity could be. Our first step was reaching out to unlikely allies, students who had kept to the shadows, those from different houses who rarely crossed paths but shared a quiet courage. Together, we formed a secret circle, a web of trust woven across Gryffindor's daring, Hufflepuff's loyalty, Ravenclaw's wisdom, and Slytherin's cunning. But unity was not easily forged. Old prejudices simmered beneath the surface, and whispers of betrayal tainted even the closest bonds. Suspicion crept in like a slow poison, threatening to unravel all we had built. One night, as I pored over ancient texts in the library, a sudden chill swept through the room. The flickering candlelight dimmed, and shadows stretched unnaturally long. From the darkness emerged a figure cloaked in black. Not an enemy, but an unexpected visitor. It was Severus Snape, his eyes, sharp and calculating, fixed on me with an intensity that made my skin crawl. Yet beneath the stern facade, I sensed a reluctant ally, a man bound by his own secrets and a complicated loyalty to Hogwarts. "I have information," he said, voice low and grave. "The darkness beneath the castle is more than a threat. It is a force tied to a betrayal from the past, a secret that, if revealed, could shatter everything." Snape's words sent a shiver down my spine. The past was reaching out with cold fingers, threatening to drag us all into a conflict that would test not only our magic, but our very souls. Together, with Snape's reluctant guidance and the fragile alliance we had forged, we prepared for the gathering storm. The lines between friend and foe blurred, and every shadow hid a secret waiting to be uncovered. As the night deepened, I stood by the window, watching the castle beneath the stars. Hogwarts was more than stone and spell work. It was a living legacy, and in its heart, the battle for its soul was about to begin. The Midnight Council, Plans in the shadows. The quiet of midnight cloaked Hogwarts in a velvet darkness, broken only by the distant hoot of an owl and the soft rustling of pages turned beneath flickering candlelight. In the secret chamber beneath the castle, hidden behind a tapestry that whispered of forgotten battles, our clandestine council gathered. The flicker of enchanted lanterns cast shifting shadows on determined faces, each marked by a shared burden, the fate of Hogwarts. Our circle was small but fierce. Students from all four houses who had pledged secrecy and loyalty to a cause far greater than rivalry. Leora sat beside me, her eyes sharp as ever, a quiet strength radiating from her every movement. Professor Snape stood near the back, his dark gaze surveying the room with cautious calculation. Even Professor McGonagall had agreed to lend her support, though her presence was rare and solemn, a reminder of the stakes at hand. "We must act swiftly," Leora began, her voice steady but urgent. "The darkness grows stronger each day. The shadows beneath the castle are awakening old powers, powers that were meant to remain buried." Snape stepped forward, his voice low but unmistakably commanding. "There is a link between the ancient curse and the betrayal that fractured Hogwarts centuries ago. To protect the castle, we must uncover that truth before it consumes us all." A murmur rippled through the room, the weight of his words settling like a heavy fog. I unfurled a parchment, revealing the map we had pieced together from ancient texts and recent discoveries. Marked were the sites where dark magic had been sensed: the Forbidden Forest, the depths of the dungeons, and a sealed chamber rumored to be the resting place of a powerful relic. "The key of unity," I said, holding up the pendant, "is central to this. We believe it can unlock the final barrier guarding the source of the curse. But we will face dangers unlike any before, traps, spells, and perhaps betrayal." McGonagall's voice cut through the tension. "Trust must be our strongest shield. Divide and conquer is the enemy's strategy. We must unite not only the houses, but the hearts of all who call Hogwarts home." As plans formed and strategies were debated, I caught a glimpse of something in Snape's eyes, a flicker of regret, a shadow of a secret he kept close. It was a reminder that the path we walked was fraught with hidden costs. The council decided on a course of action. A small group would venture into the sealed chamber, armed with spells and courage, to confront the darkness directly. Others would rally support among the students and faculty, preparing for whatever fallout might come. As the meeting adjourned, I felt the heavy cloak of responsibility settle on my shoulders. The coming days would test us beyond anything we had imagined. Friendships would be strained, alliances tested, and the true nature of Hogwarts will be revealed in the crucible of conflict. Stepping into the cool night air outside the chamber, I looked up at the stars. The sky was vast and indifferent, but beneath it, the castle stood resilient, a beacon of hope amid encroaching shadows. Our fight was just beginning. Into the sealed chamber, facing the heart of darkness. The air outside the sealed chamber was thick with tension, each breath heavy with anticipation and unspoken fears. The key of unity pulsed steadily in my hand, a rhythmic heartbeat of magic that seemed to synchronize with my own. Leora stood close, her expression calm but determined, while the others, our small band of trusted allies, prepared silently, their wands raised, eyes sharp, ready for whatever awaited. The entrance to the chamber was concealed beneath layers of enchantments and ancient spells, carved into the cold stone walls deep within the dungeons. We had spent days deciphering the runes, piecing together incantations whispered across centuries, and now, the moment had come to unlock what had long been hidden. With a careful breath, I slid the key of unity into the worn lock. The mechanism responded with a soft hum that vibrated through the stone, and slowly, a massive stone door ground open, revealing a darkness so profound it seemed to swallow the light of our wands. As we stepped inside, the temperature dropped sharply, a chill seeping into our bones. The chamber stretched out before us, a vast cavern of shadows and echoes, its walls inscribed with glowing sigils that pulsed with a sinister light. The air was thick with the scent of ancient magic, tangled with something darker, more malevolent. Leora whispered, "This is it, the heart of the curse." The floor beneath us was etched with intricate patterns, symbols of protection and binding, faded but still potent. At the center lay a pedestal, upon which rested a cracked, obsidian orb that seemed to absorb the light, radiating a cold, oppressive aura. Suddenly, a voice echoed, deep, resonant, and dripping with contempt. "You dare to enter my domain?" From the shadows emerged a figure cloaked in dark robes, face hidden beneath a hood. The presence was overwhelming. An ancient sorcerer bound by the curse, his power fueled by betrayal and vengeance. His eyes glowed with fiery malevolence as he stepped forward, the very air crackling with dark energy. The battle that followed was fierce and unforgiving. Spells collided in brilliant flashes of light and darkness, the chamber shaking with the force of unleashed magic. Each of us fought with every ounce of strength and skill, but the sorcerer's power was immense, rooted not just in dark arts, but in the twisted legacy of Hogwarts itself. As the duel raged, I felt the key of unity grow warmer, resonating with the power of our combined will. Remembering the lessons of unity and trust, I called out to my friends, weaving our spells together in a radiant weave of magic. Fire and water, light and shadow, courage and wisdom. The sorcerer faltered, his dark energy unraveling against the strength of our bond. With a final desperate surge, he lunged, but the key flared with blinding light, sealing his power and shattering the orb. Silence fell. The oppressive darkness lifted, replaced by a gentle warmth that filled the chamber. The curse was broken, the ancient betrayal forgiven through the unity we had forged. Breathing heavily, I looked around at my companions, exhausted but victorious. Hogwarts had been saved, but at a cost none of us could yet measure. As we made our way back to the corridors, the castle seemed to breathe anew, its magic singing of hope and renewal. But deep within the shadows, unseen eyes watched, and the story was far from over. The aftermath, secrets unveiled and new beginnings. The air inside Hogwarts felt different now. The heavy tension that had weighed down its ancient stone seemed to have lifted, replaced by a subtle sense of calm and renewal. Walking through the castle's halls, I could almost hear the whispers of gratitude carried on the breeze, as if the very walls themselves acknowledged the end of the dark storm that threatened us all. But the victory was not without its cost. In the days that followed the battle within the sealed chamber, the truth began to surface. Truths that challenged everything I thought I knew about Hogwarts, its founders, and even the people I trusted most. The ancient curse we had broken was tied not only to a betrayal centuries ago, but to secrets deliberately hidden from the students and faculty. The four founders, united once in magic and vision, had fractured not just because of ambition, but because of a dark pact, one that bound their magic and fate to the very castle itself. Professor McGonagall, with her usual stern grace, gathered those of us involved in the secret council for a private meeting in her office. The fire crackled softly as she spoke, her eyes reflecting both sorrow and resolve. "The history of Hogwarts is more complicated than even the oldest books reveal," she said. "The unity you forged was more than symbolic. It was a restoration of the balance the founders themselves struggled to maintain." Leora and I listened intently as McGonagall shared recovered scrolls and newly translated texts that detailed the founders' pact, a delicate balance of power and trust meant to protect the castle from outside threats. But over time, fear and jealousy had eroded that trust, allowing dark magic to seep in. "The key of unity," McGonagall explained, "is both a reminder and a safeguard. It represents a strength found in cooperation across differences, a lesson we must never forget." Outside her office, the school buzzed with cautious hope. Gryffindors, Hufflepuffs, Ravenclaws, and even Slytherins mingled more freely, breaking down old barriers that had long divided them. The events had forced a reckoning, a chance for new beginnings. Yet not all wounds had healed. Snape, once a shadowy figure of suspicion, had revealed fragments of his own story, his complicated loyalty and the sacrifices he had made in silence. His confession left us unsettled, but deepened our understanding of the true cost of the war we had fought. Meanwhile, I found myself grappling with the weight of what we had uncovered. The legacy of Hogwarts was now a tapestry woven with light and darkness, bravery and betrayal, unity and division. In the quiet moments, I often returned to the pendant, the key of unity that now rested safely around my neck. It was a reminder of the trials faced and the bonds forged in the crucible of darkness. But the castle still held mysteries, rooms unexplored, spells untested, and stories untold. Hogwarts was alive, ever-changing, and I realized that my journey was far from over. As autumn leaves began to fall outside the towering windows, I looked to the future with a cautious hope. The past had been confronted, the darkness pushed back, but the magic of Hogwarts would continue to challenge and inspire those brave enough to listen. And I knew I would be there, ready to face whatever came next. Legacy and light. The future of Hogwarts. The dawn broke gently over Hogwarts, spilling golden light across the ancient castles, soaring towers, and lush grounds. The air was crisp with the scent of autumn leaves and fresh beginnings. After all that we had endured, the battles, the betrayals, the unearthing of ancient secrets, the castle seemed to breathe anew. It was no longer just a place of magic, but a living symbol of hope and unity. As I wandered through familiar corridors, the sounds of laughter and conversation echoed warmly around me. For the first time in years, students from all four houses mingled freely, their friendships weaving new stories that transcended old rivalries. The divisions that once defined us had begun to dissolve, replaced by a shared sense of purpose and belonging. The key of unity rested heavily on my chest, a constant reminder of the journey we had taken. It wasn't just a magical artifact, but a symbol of everything we had fought for: courage, trust, and the strength found in embracing our differences. It glowed softly, as if pulsing in time with my heartbeat, a beacon of light amidst the shadows we had conquered. In the Great Hall, the banners of Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, and Slytherin hung side by side, their colors vivid and bright. New traditions were blossoming, rituals that celebrated not just the greatness of each house, but the power of unity. Students organized clubs and study groups that crossed boundaries, sharing knowledge and experiences with an openness that once seemed impossible. The professors, too, had transformed. Professor McGonagall's stern gaze softened with pride, and even Severus Snape, whose loyalties had long been a mystery, began to reveal glimpses of warmth beneath his reserved exterior. Their guidance helped nurture this new spirit, ensuring that the lessons of the past were not forgotten but carried forward. Yet beneath the hopeful surface, the castle's magic remained as complex and unpredictable as ever. Secret passages whispered promises of new adventures, and hidden rooms waited patiently for those curious enough to explore. Hogwarts was alive, a guardian of countless stories yet to be told. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of pink and gold, I found myself alone atop the astronomy tower. The cool breeze tugged gently at my robes as I gazed out over the grounds. A sea of green and gold bathed in twilight. In that quiet moment, I realized how much had changed, and yet how much remained the same. Hogwarts was not just a school nor a mere building. It was a living legacy, shaped by every student, teacher, and magical being who had ever called it home. I was no longer simply a student. I had become a guardian of that legacy, a keeper of its light amid the darkness. The journey had tested me in ways I never imagined, teaching me that true magic lay not in power alone, but in the courage to stand together, to trust, and to hope. As the stars began to twinkle overhead, I felt a deep sense of peace and purpose. The story of Hogwarts was far from over. It was a living tapestry, woven with threads of friendship, bravery, mystery, and magic, waiting for new voices to add their own chapters. And so, with the pendant glowing warmly against my heart, I stepped forward into the future, ready for whatever adventures awaited. Thank you for accompanying me on this extraordinary journey through the halls and shadows of Hogwarts. Together, we've unraveled secrets, faced darkness, and discovered that the greatest magic of all is the bond we share. If this story has sparked your imagination or brought a little magic into your night, please subscribe, and share so more dreamers can join our quest. Remember, whether in the quiet corners of castle or the wild places of the world, magic is real, found in courage, friendship, and the stories we tell. Until next time, may your nights be peaceful, your dreams enchanted, and your heart forever brave. Good night and take care.